Fair warning, everyone. This chapisode, we are going to have a uniquely long front-loading session because I have a lot of stuff I want to say. A lot of hindsight thoughts. Where to start?
Yeah.
I coined the phrase bad faith feeling in my mind this week because I was so annoyed with Phelan's response to the speech in the last chapter.
Oh, well, yeah. I guess it's an alliteration.
Yeah, I'm fond of it. I don't like the guy. I wanted to ask you, Kitte, do you think that we have the requisite information to determine who the Hero of Ages is right now? If we didn't read any further, could we figure it out?
I would say I would like to say no, because there's it's just not definitive enough. You're saying we have the pieces, we don't know their value. So everything has been revealed, we just don't know their value yet.
Well, because I was going over the epigraphs in the first book, and I'm looking at that first line. Sometimes I worry I'm not the hero everyone thinks I am. And in hindsight, it's like, oh, no, you're not. So I'm wondering if there's a similar situation going on with the Hero of Ages.
I just know I have my own insecurity about my ability to sniff out the answers. So I just want to say no, so that I feel better.
Gotcha. And this question was spawned as I was wondering whether or not Sazed or Marsh fit what we know of the prophecies. You had said that the survivor of Hathsin could be a burden by which the hero shall be known. And as it pertains to Marsh, he's an inquisitor. He's known as an inquisitor. That could certainly be considered a burden after our discussion in the last chapisode regarding whether or not the pain that he feels by being an inquisitor is uniquely difficult for him rather than someone else.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if Marsh was the Hero of Ages. And then we know...
Could fit.
What?
It could fit that clue.
Yeah. And then I was wondering about Sazed, who feels like an outsider, so to speak. He's a madman compared to the others, the other keepers.
It could also be him. It fits him, but that's prophecy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's prophecy.
That's what's fun about it. Like I said, I feel like we might have the parts. I think, okay, so maybe I'm saying yes, but I'm saying we could not definitively know. I'm saying we have the bits in the prophecy that fit this person that we may or may not have met, and we will only get to apply them at a later stage. Like, I don't feel like you could make a determination right now, because we don't even know what the Hero of Ages is supposed to do. We don't know the whole prophecy.
True. All right, then. Speaking of prophecy, I was contemplating aluminum and the lack of atium and what duralumin does, because we were wondering what duralumin empowered atium does. What if that's what was being done to hold off the deepness? We've theorized that the Lord Ruler was using atium to hold off the deepness. We theorized that it was that he was holding off the deepness, that he didn't stop it. He was doing something in perpetuity. Do you think it was empowered atium, or do you think it was just regular atium?
I can see why you would want to say it's empowered atium, because it's a big blast, and we get that in this episode, sort of thing. That what you want. But what I thought as soon as you brought that up was, we've just discovered duralumin only now, and I feel like we would have found something like that in the palace or something. Like, there would have been evidence of that alloy at some point.
But we do know that it was only the palace that knew about aluminum.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why would they not have? I suppose it makes sense that you could have the Lord Ruler, who's the only person who knew about it. But I would want to know, what I would ask of Vin is, okay, was there any who was making stuff for the Lord Ruler? Find that.
I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
Because
I can
it's
see
like,
that.
Yeah, because they've just discovered it. But that's even so, then it's lucky that they've actually found the same one that they need.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I see what you mean. That you would need some sort of specialized atium, because we were saying, how does atium fight the deepness in any way? Yeah, so that is one way that it could, and that would also make it like even more valuable, even more scarce, because it burns immediately.
Yeah, and it's already fast burning as it is.
Yeah.
I think the epigraphs in this book are in order. I think in a previous chapisode, I had said something to the effect of imagining a specific epigraph being out of place with the others, or like happening before a previous one. I no longer think that's the case. I just wanted to state for the record, I think these epigraphs are appearing to us in order.
May I put that in the prediction log?
Yes.
Yay.
Let's see. There are a bunch of other things I want to bring up, but I want to do that after we actually do the front-loading of what happened in this chapter. I did a cringe this week, and
I mean, that's me every week, but not in this context.
Every day is a day I cringe. I've been really on the fence about whether or not I wanted to bring this up in this way. I was very hard on Ellen's speech last week.
Sorry, the way you your the first thing, I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring this up. I was very hard. Sorry, I've ruined your flow.
And
you were very hard
to be clear,
yes,
I'm fairly confident that Sanderson wrote it such that Ellen wrote it poorly and delivered it poorly. I think that was Sanderson's intention, and I think he accomplished that intention very, very well. So what I did this week, and what I want to share with all of you, is not a criticism of Brandon Sanderson, but a criticism of Ellen. Ellen, I will happily write...
Ellen? From you, Dorkus?
Ellen, I will happily be your speechwriter. I wrote a better version of Ellen's speech for him.
Let's go. Let's go.
You really want to hear it?
Do it. Sorry, you brought this up. This is absolutely necessary, right? Right, chat? Yeah.
Apparently, this is a fanfic stream now.
Yes.
Gentlemen of the Assembly, we stand at a perilous juncture. I know you've all seen the army that stands outside our city, my father's army. You all know the kind of man my father was. Can any of you truthfully say that if he took Luthadel, we'd be better off for it? Our country is the one that freed us from the Lord Ruler's tyranny. Are we so willing to give up that freedom to the first bully that knocks at our doorstep? In 1 year, we have tried new and unorthodox ideas. Freedom for the Ska, rule by our own choice and of our own design. To that end, as your king, I have endeavored to make this assembly what it is, a place of debate and ideas so that we may move forward together as one people. I have acknowledged and lived by my principle that as king, I am merely first among equals, no better or worse than any of you. I have sought to protect your rights as citizens and ensure a place where your voices would be heard. But that does not mean I don't have a role within this government. As king, I have first right of parley with foreign leaders and enemy figures. Before any official decision is made by the assembly, I would speak with my father, seek his disposition, see what options lie before us. If there is a way to end this threat without bloodshed, I have to look for it. But that does not mean I am unwilling to die for my freedom if necessary, just like the brave Ska who died in their fight against the Lord Ruler. I did not force anyone in this city to stay. I would like to believe you chose to stay because you see what I see, that freedom is worth dying for. Let us work together to protect this city and our freedom while it is ours. Now, it would be my preference to speak with Straff under the unanimous approval of the Assembly. So I call for a vote of solidarity. Let us promise ourselves and these people that we will not give this city to a foreign power without due consideration. Trying times are when values are tested. Now let us move forward with strength, wisdom, and unity.
Yay! That was much better. He definitely wrote. Obviously, he wrote badly on purpose. It's not like we're not saying that Branderson would not be able to articulate a speech like that. But literally, Ellen was not. That was the speech that Ellen should have gone. But you see, if Ellen made that speech, it wouldn't be Ellen's character, because okay.
Yes, you are correct.
But I'm trying to explain why. Like, because he does hold these things, but he doesn't have that strength of
character.
Of character, yeah.
He has to learn a lot of things about being a ruler. He'll get there. You can't start him off at a perfect place, but still, if the guy is able to give such a powerful speech that they name him king, I would expect better.
Yeah. No, exactly. You would expect better. You would expect him to be that kind of, that shines through in everything that he says, especially something that he's focused on and really put so much time into. But I guess you could say, oh, well, he overthought it and it became absolute trash. But like you invoked the sacrifice of the scar. You brought up the fact that we're trying something new. This is what we're fighting for, kind of stuff. You brought up things that we're fighting for and that willing to die for, that sort of stuff. It's bringing the severity of the situation to the fore without saying, okay, I surrender. It's like rather die than surrender to this person. That's what we wanted. I think it would have worked. That's all I'm saying. Maybe one or two would try and be a-holes about it, but
I think what I got from that last chapter is that most of them, or at least the more powerful ones, are more or less ready to give up. So I don't know how effective it would have been for Phelan and the other one.
Yes.
Don't remember his name right now.
Also with a P.
But I think I got all of the beats that I would have wanted to hear. I have him denigrate Straff as a bully.
Yeah.
I remind them of the sacrifices that were made to get where they were and what makes their place unique. I had him affirm he has this right. He can do this thing regardless, and that he's not trying to be a tyrant. He has sought to protect everyone else's rights, but he has a role, and this falls within that purview.
Exactly.
And then what I think is most important is that he says he would rather do this with the approval of them rather than without.
Yeah, but that's quite a nice power move where it's like, I'm still going to do it. Kind of is like, listen, I'm gonna be trying, so I would like it to be with your guys' approval. That's what I'm asking you to do. That's what the real Elend doesn't have. He doesn't have that confidence. He doesn't have that heft to.
Yeah, he's so scared of being a tyrant that he won't allow himself to do anything at all.
Doesn't
without group consensus.
Respect. Yeah. He does. He can't. Yes, without group consensus, which is impossible in this group. Really, I wonder if, because now, yes, we both agree. I think your speech would not have swayed the more powerful because they're just full of themselves in any case. They didn't care about.
But would it have gotten most of them?
I think it would have gotten some of them that we don't know about that may actually feel for the scar. That also are still. The fact is, here you remind them that they stayed when they could have left. That's another thing. But I'm thinking of like the merchants and things like that. They would be more susceptible to that message that, hey, I'm not letting go of what I've now been able to develop in this new world.
The only thing I couldn't figure out how to work into this was the buy war bonds, donate to the government to help fund our freedom stuff. I worked on a couple of different things, but none of them, it didn't flow right in my mind.
But yeah, it might have been clunky in there trying to bring it up there. Because that's more specific. This is you trying to make feelings happen. That's like solutions and practicality. Maybe that would come up later.
But working on that had me thinking, based off of how the actual speech went, since the assembly officially voted that they wouldn't do anything until Elend meets with Straff, what happens if Elend never meets with Straff?
Yeah, what happens if he doesn't meet with Straff? That would be a low blow from
Elend.
Yes, that would be sneaky. But then I don't think that would last. He wouldn't be able to.
No.
Yeah, they wouldn't. They'd be like, yeah, okay, that was. You have to go meet him now.
Yeah, it was done under the assumption that you would proceed to see him within a timely manner.
Yeah, and I think nobody would expect him to ever delay on that because he's a softie. He's gonna do whatever he said he was gonna do, right? He's got honor, so everyone's just like, yeah, cool. We'll take it all for granted. Sorry, hold on. I really, really like the fact that you wrote that speech. That's cool. I really enjoyed that.
I feel so cringe having done it.
The world needs to know. I enjoyed it. And we are both understanding that it's not that you wrote it better because Elend was supposed to make that speech. It's that if we had it our way. Fanfic, the whole point. But the thing is, it's pretty good. So when I put fanfic on some of the fanfic that's out there.
A big part of me wrote that because in the episode, I was throwing out, no, you gotta say this, you gotta say that. And I think, if you're gonna talk the talk, walk the walk. So
and then talk the talk again.
And then talk the talk.
Yeah.
So that's the result of that. With that said, hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. For this particular series, I am joined by my wonderful co-host, that darn kitty.
Dorkus and I are both going into the story completely new, with almost no knowledge of the story or world.
Each segment, we intend to cover what happens in each new chapter and discuss our experience along the way.
Hold on to your butts, because this is Ascension Unleashed, a blind read-through. And today we will be covering Chapter 11!
Chapter 11! What an exciting chapter. We get Breeze back.
Yes! Just as we were wondering, well, I mean, we have been wondering for a while where the hell he is. Thank goodness. I missed him.
Yeah. We get a Duralumin shotgun.
Yes. Oh, shotgun? Wow. Bazooka, maybe. Yeah, that was great.
Oh, and the jump, that's so cool.
Yeah, we get some awesome stuff. We get some answers because we were saying, how would you use this, effectively? How would you use Duralumin? And also an answer of mine, an answer to my question, like, what happens? You're in the air. And yeah, anyway, we'll get there.
And keep in mind, all of this done during the day. People see how powerful she is, and no one else knows about Duralumin as far as we're aware.
And we should keep it that way.
And this is the girl that has the reputation for having been the one to defeat the Lord Ruler, so
it fits.
Good.
Yeah.
But maybe people will think twice about attacking Luthadel.
Yeah, maybe now. I'm hoping that's the effect, some sort of effect that is like, they say, oh, that girl defeated the Lord Ruler, then what could she do to our army? Okay, there's that. But I did think when this happened the first time, I was like, what if she gives Duralumin to other people, to other on her side? There is a question with whether you would arm them with that or not. And I like it being her own secret because as much as she seems to be very powerful, you don't want that in the hands of other people. Even and then there's no one you trust. As we shall
especially,
see. Yeah.
The paradigm for this story changes dramatically at the end of this chapter, and I'm so scared. And we were warned not to listen to the audiobook for this book as we're going through it.
Yes.
And I remember remarking when we experienced Condra Kelsier that it specifically said that he spoke with Renault's voice, or something to that effect. Point being, my takeaway from that segment was that the Condra didn't replicate Kelsier's voice when he spoke. So I'm wondering if the reason we have been warned against the audiobooks is because Condra aren't good at replicating voices, and that would be a giveaway?
Aren't good at replicating. No, well, that doesn't make sense because she does speak about how she does talk about how Condra are great actors, and people didn't even notice the difference when Renault was around. So Renault had his own voice.
Is that a contradiction then? Do I need to reread the Kelsier Condra segment? Because I'm pretty sure it said then that Orasur spoke with Renault's voice at that point. But yes, Vin does make this observation, so
Question, no answer. Like I'm not presenting that as an answer. It's more like you could reason out that okay, well, people thought it was Renault and his voice had changed a little bit, or I don't know.
Or Renault could have been not bothering to pretend because he knew they wouldn't fall for it or something.
Yeah. See what happens when we get there to that part of this thing. Let's see if we discuss it again.
Very well. Let's finally get into it. What, 30 minutes in? Probably.
30s. Yeah.
It was Alendi's simple ingenuousness that first led me to befriend him. I employed him as an assistant during his first months in the Grand City.
So that's how he met him, I suppose. Is that Alendi had come to the city. He wasn't going, I don't think he went and found him.
Yes.
Quan didn't go out and bring him in. He was there.
Alendi was looking for work in the city as an assistant.
Also, just thinking back to our Elend Alendi comparisons, that is what we have from Elend. He's just so earnest, and he's not disingenuous. he's ingenuous, and that's something that he shares with Alendi. In the previous chapter, we had the comparison of Alendi demanding respect. And Elend not really demanding respect at all, not really succeeding in that whole gravitas thing. So here we have some parallel. So you just spoke about an arc of him getting to this point where he demands respect. Maybe he could land up being Alendi.
Is Sazed ingenuous?
Yes.
Yeah. Sazed is the hero of ages, probably.
Probably. Okay. Probably.
Do not put that on the prediction log. I'm not prepared.
That's not it.
For the second time in 3 days, Elend stood atop the Luthadel city wall, studying an army that had come to invade his kingdom. Elend squinted against the red afternoon sunlight, but he was no tin-eye. He couldn't make out details of the new arrival. Any chance they're here to help us? Elend asked hopefully, looking toward Clubs, who stood beside him. They fly Set's banner. Remember him? Guy who sent 8 Alamancers to kill you 2 days back? Okay, first off, no. I'm so certain they sent Alamancers to kill Vin, not Elend.
Yeah.
But yes, I do remember the guy.
Thanks.
Elend shivered in the chill autumn weather, glancing back out over the Second Army. It was making camp a good distance from Straff's army, close to the Luth-Davin Canal, which ran out the west side of the River Channel. Vin stood next to Elend, though Ham was off organizing things among the city guard. Orasur, wearing the wolfhound's body, sat patiently on the wall walk beneath Vin. How did we miss their approach? Straff. This set came in from the same direction, and our scouts were focused on Straff, who probably knew about this other army a few days ago, but we had virtually no chance of seeing them. Elend nodded.
So that makes sense, kind of. Okay, you see army, you like their army, it's the same army. Straff is setting up a perimeter of soldiers watching the enemy army. I doubt they're friendly to each other.
She stood atop one of the sawtooth parapet crenels, feet positioned dangerously close to the wall's edge. Maybe they'll attack each other, Elend said hopefully. I doubt it. They're too evenly matched, though Straff might be a little stronger. I doubt Set would take the chance by attacking him. Why come then? Maybe he hoped he'd beat Venture to Luthadel and get to take it first. He spoke of the event, the capture of Luthadel, as if it were a given. Elend's stomach twisted as he leaned against the battlement, looking out through a crenel. Vin and the others were thieves and Ska Allomancers, outcasts who had been hunted for most of their lives. Perhaps they were accustomed to dealing with this pressure, this fear, but Elend was not. How did they live with the lack of control, the sense of inevitability? Elend felt powerless. What could he do? Flee and leave the city to fend for itself? Not an option. Yet, confronted with not one but two armies preparing to destroy his city and take his throne, Elend found it hard to keep his hands steady as he gripped the rough stone of the battlement.
Yeah, I'm loving the comparison between what this motley crew of thieves would be used to versus this nobleman who's had quite a pampered life.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he has that awareness that he doesn't know how to deal with this. This is alien to him, and he knows that they have resources that he has never had to tap into. They themselves have strength that he has never had. So I want him to draw on them, as in be like them, but I'm glad that he noticed it. It's really good as a character, for him as a character.
Agreed.
He checked his privilege, guys.
Yeah.
He checked his privilege.
Kelsier would have found a way out of this.
Yeah, so there you go. There is our first thing of it continues on from the previous chapter. Just Kelsier can do everything and I can't. So it works with his character as well, his insecurity, because he's now just thinking, look, I'm unequipped. Everybody else knows how to deal with powerlessness. Everybody else knows how to deal with hopeless odds. And then there's me, and I don't know how to do anything. These people followed Kelsier, and now they're following me. Yeah. That's weird.
I think it has helped me to reframe these comments as insecurity rather than admiration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, just another thing on the one for the seeds of this arc, okay, of Elend. He says, destroy his city and take his throne. He thinks about it that way. He thinks about it in that way. His, mine, my kingdom. But he doesn't act that way. He doesn't act as if he's king of anything. It's like the way, it's funny to me that he says his throne. I'm like, what throne, Elend? You have a little podium that you stand in front of and you beg everybody to listen to you. You're not that. That's the difference.
Right. And that's why, like, in my fanfic, I put the phrase first among equals because that's what he as king seems to want to be rather than the king.
Yeah. First is at least something, not just putting yourself in the crowd. And yeah, so having that against what's in his mind when he says his throne is a great tension that I'm watching. I've got an eye on that. There! What's that?
Elend turned. Vin was squinting, looking towards Set's army, using tin to see things that were invisible to Elend's mundane eye.
Someone's leaving the army, riding on horseback.
Messenger?
Maybe. He's riding pretty fast.
She began to run from one stone tooth to the next, moving along the wall. Her Khandra immediately followed, padding quietly across the wall beneath her. Elend glanced at Clubs, who shrugged, and they began to follow. They caught up with Vin standing on the wall near one of the towers, watching the oncoming rider. Or at least, Elend assumed that was what she watched. He still couldn't see what she had. Allomancy. Why couldn't he have at least ended up with a single power, even a weaker one like copper or iron? That line right there very much speaks to an Ellen feels powerless arc.
Yeah, he has no resources. The only resource he has is his character and his moral compass. Everybody else has power. He doesn't have an army. He doesn't have anything. And then literally we had his mundane eyes. He just has mundane eyes. He's just ordinary. Everybody else is extraordinary. And he's just like, can't I have at least one power? Can I at least just be a misting? So it really works with his whole insecure.
But he's a good man.
He's a good man, as Vin will say. That's not good enough. It's not good enough. But he thinks it's not good enough because he's a good man. He wants to be better.
Vin cursed, suddenly standing up straight.
Ellen, that's Breeze.
What? Are you sure?
Yes, he's being chased. Archers on horseback.
Clubs cursed, waving to a messenger. Send riders, cut off this pursuit. The messenger dashed away. Vin shook her head.
They won't make it in time. The archers will catch him or at least shoot him. Even I couldn't get there fast enough, not running, but maybe.
Ellen frowned, looking up at her. Vin, that's way too far to jump, even for you. Vin glanced at him, smiled, then leapt.
I love that so much. That's so Kelsia as well. Sorry.
Yes.
It's like, oh, really? Yeah, I should have actually put this in the front loading. That we get Vin Kelsiering hard. Yeah.
Yes.
I loved it. I loved it so much. It was great.
Vin readied the 14th medal, Duralumin. She had a reserve, but she didn't burn it. Not yet.
I hope this works.
She thought, seeking an appropriate anchor. The tower beside her had a reinforced iron bulwark on the top. That would work. She pulled on the bulwark, yanking herself to the top of the tower. She immediately jumped again, pushing herself up and out, angling into the air away from the wall. She extinguished all her metals, except for steel and pewter. Then, still pushing against the bulwark, she burned Duralumin. A sudden force smashed against her. It was so powerful. She was certain that only an equally powerful flash of pewter held her body together. She blasted away from the keep, hurtling through the sky as if tossed by some giant invisible god. The air rushed by so quickly that it roared, and the pressure of sudden acceleration made it difficult to think. Vin, have you tried that before? Please tell me this isn't the first time you tried it.
Yeah, okay, I was just thinking that, but the thing is, she's worried about Breeze. So this is
Of
kind
course. Oh, it's very in character for her, don't get me wrong.
So she's probably been thinking about it. I mean, she says, I hope this works. She's never tried it. So I know that she literally says, I hope this works. So she has not tried it. There's your answer. But she's been thinking about it. Now's the time she's going to try it because she's desperate. Look, we've seen Vin try and stab a Atium, or not an Atium. Atium's actually a good thing to try and stab a shadow there.
Malatium.
A gold. No, she's tried to.
She went to stab the Lord
shadow.
Ruler's shadow.
Yeah. Okay. So she tries stuff, and she does that because the stakes are high.
And it's great, but also practice. No, it's fine. It's fine.
We're glad she's okay. And really, thank goodness she did. Because I don't know. I'm like, yeah, okay. I initially was like, she's burning pewter because of her landing. So somehow the landing she would still have some sort of strength from pewter once she lands. But I'm like, no, that doesn't work. So this pewter was very good to keep burning because it's supposed to protect her from her own push. That's crazy. Yes. you could explode
could have broken
yourself.
Your neck.
Yeah, crazy.
She floundered, trying to regain control. Fortunately, she'd picked her trajectory well. She was shooting right toward Breeze and his pursuers. Whatever Breeze had done, it had been enough to make someone extremely angry, for there were a full 24 men charging after him, arrows nocked. Vin fell, her steel and pewter completely burned away in that single Duralumin-fueled flash of power. She grabbed a metal vial off her belt, downing its contents. As she tossed the vial away, she suddenly felt an odd sense of vertigo. She wasn't accustomed to jumping during the day. It was strange to see the ground coming at her. Strange not to have a mist cloak flapping behind her. Strange not to have the mist. That feels important.
Yeah, it is. Imagine if there was no, because we've made the connection. We were like mist equals deepness
Allomancy?
somehow.
Deepness?
And yeah. Okay, well, I don't want to think of life without allomancy, okay? We're just enjoying allomancy right now. Stop it, okay? Stop that. I don't want to think of that. I want allomancy to remain, even if the deepness is gone, okay?
But allomancy came with the mists.
Okay, I want it to remain because it's cool.
But also mist during the day.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we don't want that. I know we don't want that. We don't want mists, but she loves the mists, and I guess I love them if they're not gonna be, if the sun
Scary.
can change, if the sun can change and change back, and we can have flowers and things again, maybe. But listen, allomancy's cool, Dorkus. Get out of here.
What?
No, I know you're not trying to say that allomancy must be done with. It makes sense that they're connected, so we might lose one in order to not have the other. I understand. Sacrifice allomancy to save the world. I'm okay with that. Sadly.
Tragic.
Yes. But also just this answered a question I had from previous chapter where I was like, so yeah, you do a huge push and you flying in the air, but then you are helpless at the top of that jump. So we are really relying on Vin taking that vial very quickly. She's very high up and she's got to think very quickly to drink as soon as her. Obviously, the writing takes us through all of these steps. So I'm very grateful for that answer. That yes, Vin can just take a swig of metals at the height of the jump and just replenish. And she thought of that because yes, otherwise she would be splattered at the. Like I know that she would have figured that out and whatever, but it's good to see it happening. Just like she didn't smash herself with Duralumin from pushing with she was good. She kept her pewter on. Anyway.
As this next line is about to describe, I just love imagining Vin tumbling through the air comedically.
Yes.
Dare I say it maladroitly?
Maladroitly, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, that was fun. Look, we've had Vin do allomancy during the day and also be a bit shocked, but that was a long time ago. And she doesn't do it. She's been avoiding it because at Hello, people will see, she's a survivor of Hatson. She really has not been doing this. She hasn't been practicing keeping her head about her when she's up in the air. So I enjoyed the comedic feel of this. Just also the fact that she's figuring stuff out. I love it.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
She grabbed a metal vial off her belt, downing its contents. As she tossed the vial away, she suddenly felt an odd sense of vertigo. She wasn't accustomed to jumping during the day. It was strange to see the ground coming at her, strange not to have a mist cloak flapping behind her, strange not to have the mist. The lead rider lowered his bow, taking aim at Breeze. Neither appeared to have noticed Vin stooping from above like a bird of prey. Well, not exactly stooping, plummeting. Snapping back to the moment, Vin burned pewter and threw a coin toward the quickly approaching ground. She pushed against the coin, using it to slow her momentum and to nudge her to the side. She hit right between Breeze and the archers, landing with a jarring crash, tossing up dust and dirt.
That's so cool.
Superhero landing.
Yeah! I enjoyed it so much. Anime! We need the anime!
We need the anime. The archer released his arrow. Even as Vin rebounded, dirt sprang around her. She reached out and pushed herself back into the air, straight at the arrow. Then she pushed against it. The steel arrowhead ripped backward, throwing out shards of wood as it split its own shaft in midair, then smacked directly into the forehead of the archer who had released it. The man toppled from his mount, and Vin landed from her rebound. She reached out, pushing against the horseshoes of the two beasts behind the leader, causing the animals to stumble. The push threw Vin backward into the air, and cries of equine pain sounded amid the crash of bodies hitting the ground. Oh, poor horse.
I felt bad about the horses. I did, but I was like, that's so cool, Vin. Oh, so good.
Little bit of Kit trivia. She rides horses.
I like horses, yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. Listen, they work for the baddies, and she feels bad about it. She does. At least she noticed that. She's like, oh, sorry. And it's like, well, it's your fault for wearing shoes. So there.
Vin continued to push, flying a few feet above the road, quickly catching up with Breeze. The portly man turned in shock, obviously stunned to find Vin hanging in the air beside his galloping horse, her clothing flapping in the wind of her passage. She winked at him, then reached out and pulled against the armor of another rider.
So Kelsier. So Kelsier.
So Kelsier.
I loved it. I'm like, Vin. Oh, geez, how cool and cinematic this would look. Oh, just great.
She's having fun with this.
Yeah. Remember when she did fight with Kelsier, whatever, she's like, oh, she could see how Kelsier could get addicted to this feeling of just power, of being able to outsmart the other person, that sort of thing. That energy.
Oh, yeah.
She's taken that from Kelsier. And I'm not saying that she's trying to be Kelsier. She's got the same spark that he has.
Yes.
And she's leaning into it and letting that blossom, into a fruit.
Yes.
Yes.
She immediately lurched in the air. Her body protested the sudden shift in momentum, but she ignored the twist of pain. The man she pulled against managed to stay in his saddle until Vin smashed into him feet first, throwing him backward. She landed on the black earth, the rider tumbling to the ground beside her. The remaining riders finally reined in their mounts, coming to an abrupt stop a few feet away. Kelsier probably would have attacked. There were a lot of them, true, but they were wearing armor and their horses were shod. However, Vin was not Kelsier. She had delayed the riders long enough for Breeze to escape. That was enough.
I really like it in my book that it said Vin, however, was not Kelsier. I like that it started with her name. Yours says, however, Vin was not Kelsier. I really like the fact, just listen, I know I'm nerding out really hard here, but I really just, the placement of Vin, however, was not Kelsier, makes it so much better. It makes it more poignant. It comes to the fore.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, you better agree, because I interrupted you to say it.
I agree.
Thank you.
Vin reached out and pushed against one of the soldiers, throwing herself backward, leaving the riders to gather their wounded. The soldiers promptly pulled out stone-tipped arrows and knocked their bows. Vin hissed in frustration as the group took aim.
Well, friends, I suggest that you hang on tightly.
She pushed slightly against them all, then burned Duralumin. The sudden crash of force was expected, the wrench in her chest, the massive flare in her stomach, the howling wind. What she didn't expect was the effect she'd have on her anchors. The blast of power scattered men and horses, throwing them into the air like leaves in the wind. Bazooka, yeah, better than shotgun.
So much better. Shotgun is like, you'll knock one person back into pieces. When I read this again, I actually laughed. Again, I do tend to laugh at these action scenes when I just think of men going, like that sort of thing. That's why, because just the thought of them scattering like leaves. Yes, that's funny if you put funny noises in, but that's also
this is neck breaking though.
Yeah, that's devastating stuff. That's very powerful. And listen, she was going to leave them, but they were a threat, and that's what she did what she had to do, and she didn't know how powerful it was going to be, and I'm very impressed by it.
And I am so confident that it is going to be a net positive that this was done during the day in sights of people.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it really okay, look, now that you say that, I'm thinking of the people that know the rest of the book, and I'm like, they say it's so exciting and nail fighting, whatever. It's exciting. So I'm thinking, like, politically, oh no, if we've got Vin as this powerful person, that also makes her a target. We know that she's a target, but this makes her more of a target. Yeah, I guess you're right. She's already a target, so it doesn't add anything.
I mean, it's a sacrifice to her in a small way, in that she likes to play small. She likes to appear underpowered, so to speak, and to try and get the drop on people. And this kind of throws that out the window, along with the other enemy soldiers. But ultimately, if there was any doubt that a small girl could beat the Lord Ruler, this should clear that away.
Yeah, because the complete juxtaposition of her size versus that you can go, oh, okay, she got something in her that like it really makes sense. Yeah, so I mean,
assuming no one else knows about Duralumin.
Yeah, we don't want that. I feel like even if anyone did know, it's a very small number of people that did. So it would still have this effect of people going, whoa, about look who's on Ellen's side. And I know some enemies would be like, that means we really have to kill her. But other enemies would hesitate. So that's a good thing. I feel like net positive, like you said. We know she's already a target, cool. But hey, this is an extra deterrent, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to be very careful with this.
Vin thought, gritting her teeth and spinning in the air. Her steel and pewter were gone again, and she was forced to down her last metal vial. She'd have to start carrying more of these. Good, yes, smart. Mm-hmm. She hit the ground running, pewter keeping her from tripping despite her terrific speed. She slowed slightly, letting the mounted breeze catch up to her, then increased her pace to keep up with him. She dashed like a sprinter, letting pewter's strength and balance keep her upright as she paced the tiring horse. The beast eyed her as they ran, seeming to display a hint of animal frustration to see a human matching it.
I loved that. I was like, yeah, this horse is like, excuse me, 2 legs? What is this? I like that. I like that little note.
It's humorous, and I put it up on the wall next to the Vin jump 7 feet in the air in a chapter or 2 ago.
Yeah.
Or 3, whenever that chapter happened.
Yeah, exactly.
They reached the city a few moments later. Breeze reined in as the doors to Iron Gate began to open, but rather than wait, Vin simply threw down a coin and pushed, letting her forward momentum carry her toward the walls. As the gates swung open, she pushed against their studs, and this second push sent her sailing straight up. She barely crested the battlements, passing between a pair of startled soldiers, before dropping over the other side. She landed in the courtyard, steadying herself with one hand against the cool stones as Breeze entered through the gate. Vin stood. Breeze patted his forehead with a handkerchief as he trotted his animal up beside her. He'd let his hair grow longer since she'd last seen him, and he kept it slicked back, its lower fringe tickling his collar. It wasn't graying yet, though he was in his mid-40s. He wore no hat. It had probably blown free, but he had on one of his rich suits and silken vests. They were powdered with black ash from his hurried ride. "Ah, Vin, my dear," Breeze said, breathing almost as deeply as his horse. "I must say that was a timely arrival on your part. Impressively flamboyant as well. I do hate to force a rescue, but, well, if one is necessary, then it might as well happen with style." Vin smiled as he climbed down from the horse, proving he was hardly the most adroit man in the square, and stable hands arrived to care for the beast. On this episode of Adroit Watch?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Do we now start Adroit Watch? Listen,
apparently we do.
We did insert the maladroit ourselves in terms of Vin's out of the air.
That's how desperate we were for a maladroit.
Yeah. Now we've got the adroit. So adroit is the spin-off. Here we go. Yeah, on this week.
Yes. Breeze wiped his brow again as Elend, Clubs, and Orasor scrambled down the steps to the courtyard. One of the aides must have finally found Ham, for he ran up through the courtyard. One of the aides must have finally found Ham, for he ran up through the courtyard. Remember that, folks.
Yes. Okay. Yes. There's a couple of things to remember that I've marked. Yeah.
Yep. And for me, that's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Breeze, Ellen said, approaching and clasping arms with the shorter man. Your Majesty, you're in good health and good humor, I assume. Health, yes. Humor? Well, there is an army crouching right outside my city. 2 armies. Breeze folded up his handkerchief. Ah, and dear Master Claydon. Optimistic as always, I see. To the side, Orasor padded up to sit next to Vin. And Hammond, Breeze said, eyeing Ham, who was smiling broadly. I'd almost managed to delude myself into forgetting that you would be here when I returned. Admit it. You're glad to see me. See you? Perhaps. Hear you? Never. I had grown quite fond of my time spent away from your perpetual pseudo-philosophical prating. Ham merely smiled a little broader. I'm glad to see you, Breeze, Ellen said, but your timing could have been a little better. I was hoping that you would be able to stop some of these armies from marching on us. Stop them? Now why would I want to do that, my dear man? I did, after all, just spend 3 months working to get set to march his army down here. Elland cocked his head and Vin frowned, standing outside the group. Breeze looked rather pleased with himself, though that was admittedly rather common for him.
Well, that's just enjoying Breeze's return. He just the way that he's written is always so entertaining, and the way you perform him is also just really entertaining. So I was very happy to have him back. Happy to have his banter back.
Classic, right into it. You know who this guy is. If we had just picked up from this book and if we had skipped the first one, we know that this guy is the Cheshire Cat Man.
Yeah, exactly. And we are reminded of that. Look, if you didn't know, now you know. But this is bringing him back for us that do know him, which is just in full force. He's there. Like, I mean, just everything he does is just so him. And I know that that's duh, of course. But, you know, when you enjoy a character, you just enjoy every line of him, really. I really do enjoy it. Also, now that I'm looking at this, okay, visually, what Brandison is doing, he's making Orisia pad up to sit next to Vin, and then Hammond is mentioned. Okay, so I'm just thinking, like, if we were visually doing this, maybe that would be a clue, considering what you're noting for later. Okay, about Ham, and that also slight difference between what you were saying about the Calcia mystery, Chondra mystery. The voice could be he could have obviously, I guess it's not a difference. We could figure out who is the imposter by the way it's performed. I'm feeling like that is the reason that we were told not to listen to the audiobook. I'm agreeing, basically. Many words. Okay, cool. Back.
So, Lord Set's on our side? Ellen asked hopefully. Of course not. He's here to ravage the city and steal your presumed atium supply.
You're the one who's been spreading the rumors about the Lord Ruler's atium stash, aren't you?
Certainly, Breeze said, eyeing Spook as the boy finally arrived at the gates.
Note 2.
Ellen frowned. But why? Look outside your walls, my dear man. I knew that your father was going to march on Luthadel eventually. Even my powers of persuasion wouldn't have been enough to dissuade him. So I began spreading rumors in the Western Dominance, then made myself one of Lord Set's advisors. Good plan. Crazy, but good. Crazy? My mental stability is no issue here, Clubs. The move was not crazy, but brilliant. Ellen looked confused. Not to insult your brilliance, Breeze, but how exactly is bringing a hostile army to our city a good idea? It's basic negotiating strategy, my good man. Well, see, and I had said in the last episode, where's Breeze teaching Ellen how to
negotiate with the council or whatever it's called, the assembly. Yeah, exactly. That is. I was actually wondering when we could bring that up. Like, that's what you were wanting Breeze to be around for. It's not just that he manipulates people's emotions or whatever. He has that negotiation skill.
Yeah. Look, the crew is like a D&D group. You don't split the party.
You need everybody's skills.
It's basic negotiating strategy, my good man, Breeze explained as a packman handed him his dueling cane taken off the horse. Breeze used it to gesture westward toward Lord Set's army. When there are only 2 participants in a negotiation, one is generally stronger than the other. That makes things very difficult for the weaker party, which in this case would have been us. Yes, but with 3 armies, we're still the weakest. Ah, But those other two parties are fairly even in strength. Straff is likely stronger, but Set has a very large force. If either of those warlords risks attacking Luthadel, his army will suffer losses, enough that he won't be able to defend against the third army. To attack us is to expose oneself.
What's very neat here is the fact that we had this discussion about the equality of the armies, the matched, how evenly matched they are. We had that earlier, unrelated. I know it's not, wow, mastery, but it's just neat. That's all I wanted to say, is that we had that established, just pointing out the niceness of certain things, just the way that it's written. Maybe I'm just spoiled because I've been noticing bad media more. So now when I notice things that actually work, I'm like, wow, look at that. Yeah.
Yes. If I'm gonna nitpick, though,
Mhm.
I would say I didn't need to hear a second time Straff is likely stronger, but Set has a large force. Because we got that earlier with clubs.
Yeah, I agree. I see what you mean there in terms of us, but because Breeze hasn't spoken to Ellen, it's not a repetition.
That's fair.
Yeah, if Breeze was there, then I'd be like, okay, now you're really harping on. But the fact is, Breeze is explaining the mechanics of the situation to him. Also, Ellen Arc learning, yay. But learning on the job, quite obviously.
And that makes this a standoff. Exactly. Trust me, Elend, my boy. In this case, two large enemy armies are far better than a single large enemy army. In a three-way negotiation, the weakest party is the one with the most power, because his allegiance, added to either of the other two, will choose the eventual winner. Elend frowned. Breeze, we don't want to give our allegiance to either of these men. I realize that, but our opponents do not. By bringing a second army in, I've given us time to think. Both warlords thought they could get here first. Now that they've arrived at the same time, they'll have to reevaluate. I'm guessing we'll end up in an extended siege, a couple of months at least.
So, what did you think of that? Do you think it will be an extended siege, a couple of months?
Probably. I think this is when I wrote down that note, what if Elend never meets with Straff? Now, I do still think he will meet with Straff, but I do think that this will have opened up a wider area of time for him to put that off for the moment.
Yeah.
Which I think will actually be quite good considering what happens at the end of this chapter and what will probably call his attention away for a time.
It should. I hope it does, because you really can't continue to operate that way, because I'll also give you my reason, my thinking at the end.
Okay.
But yeah, we got time. Now, I don't know how much time, but we got more time.
And my mind does go to that one assemblyman who was concerned about food prices. Food prices will continue to rise in a siege, and over months, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, and there's no Rhaenyra boats that just magically float up there and give everybody cabbages.
Correct. So there are some tough times ahead. It's
as if we didn't know.
As if we didn't know.
They're a different kind of tough. We thought it was
paradigm shift. That doesn't explain how we're going to get rid of them. Breeze shrugged. I got them here. You get to decide what to do with them. And I'll tell you, it was no easy task to make Set arrive on time. He was due to come in a full 5 days before venture. Fortunately, a certain malady spread through the camp a few days ago. Apparently, someone poisoned the main water supply and gave the entire camp diarrhea. Spook, standing behind Clubs, snickered. Yes, I thought you might appreciate that. You still an unintelligible nuisance, boy? Wasn't aware of not, Spook said, smiling.
Yeah, so this is where I note. Okay, you did note at Spook's entrance, but I'm like,
yes.
The snickering doesn't necessarily have to be because Spook finds diarrhea funny. Could be that he was involved somehow.
If Spook's thing this book is going to be that he's still very juvenile, I think that speaks to it.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know. Let's talk at the end about whether I hope you're right or wrong. Okay.
Okay. You sure?
We'll talk at the end.
Okay. You still make more sense than Hammond half the time, he mumbled, turning to Elend. So, isn't anyone going to send for a carriage to drive me back to the palace? I've been soothing you ungrateful lot for the better part of 5 minutes, looking as tired and pathetic as I can, and not one of you has had the good graces to pity me.
You must be losing your touch,
Vin said with a smile. A very skilled soother, and she knew of none more skilled than Breeze, could burn brass to dampen all of a person's emotions aside from a single one, effectively making them feel exactly as he wanted. Actually, Ellen said, turning and looking back up the wall, I was hoping we could go back up on the wall and study the army some more. If you spent time with Lord Set's force, then you could probably tell us a lot about it. I can. I will. I am not going to climb those steps. Can't you see how tired I am, man? Ham snorted, clapping Breeze on the shoulder and tossing up a puff of dust. How can you be tired? Your poor horse did all the running. It was emotionally exhausting, Hammond. My departure was somewhat disagreeable.
What happened anyway? Did Set find out you were a spy?
Let's just say that Lord Set and I had a falling out. Caught you in bed with his daughter, eh? Ham said, earning a chuckle from the group. Breeze was anything but a ladies' man. Despite his ability to play with emotions, he had expressed no interest in romance for as long as Vin had known him. Dachshund had once noted that Breeze was too focused on himself to consider such things.
Okay.
Oh my god, it's Ham.
Yeah, I was gonna say, look, just think about it, okay? When I first went over that, cool, it was a good joke because, of course, the juxtaposition of him not being interested in romance at all and then being accused of being in the daughter's bed, cool, that makes sense, good joke, Ham. But now it takes on a whole different meaning because it's like, I should know that, and yeah.
So help me, if anything has happened to Ham.
Yeah, I just want it to be Ham just being funny, okay? But it really is scaring me right now. So no Ham, please not. And Ham was late. Oh my gosh. Anyway.
Yeah.
Other thing, the falling out. What I did think of was Breeze being romantically involved with Set, and they had like a lovers' quarrel. What do you think of that?
I had assumed that Breeze, from Vin's earlier observation and what Sawzet had said in the previous book, that Breeze was just not interested in anyone.
But himself, yeah.
Man or woman.
But you know what? He is Breeze-centric. He is
the Narcissus effect.
Yeah, he is into himself.
So my mind didn't go to Breeze and Set having a romantic relationship because I had just assumed that Breeze was not interested in anyone. But it's certainly not outside of the realm of possibility.
So what do you think the fallout was? The disagreeable falling out?
I don't think it would have been an act of thievery. Maybe Set realized his emotions were being dampened and soothed.
That would make sense.
Just a little bit too hard.
Yeah, at one stage, like he did, and then he was noticed because Breeze looks embarrassed when this is pointed out. It's like, oh, you were found out. So Breeze looks embarrassed from that because it's like, oh, yeah, I was found out. Like that, I think fits him, that he would be embarrassed for being felt by someone. He's supposed to be, stealthy.
Yeah. I will say that Breeze very much likes to play the callous type a little bit, but there are a lot of lines in the first book that reveal a character who cares a lot for people. So I wonder if perhaps he had been caught doing something good or nice or something, and maybe Set is that evil or that bad, and there was an issue there. Like maybe he was torturing someone and Breeze stepped in to help the victim or something.
I like that. I like that.
And
yeah,
and Breeze like doesn't want to reveal that part of himself, the good part, the caring part.
Oh, I want that to be a call. That would be great.
And there is, of course, I had always taken Sazed at his word that he was too self-motivated, and I just kind of assumed Breeze wasn't interested in anyone. So I kind of deemed set Breeze unlikely. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Set Breeze unlikely and set daughter and Breeze unlikely. Which also brings us back to it's Ham! But
it's Ham! I don't want it to be Ham. Breeze simply rolled his eyes at Ham's comment. Honestly, Hammond, I think your jokes are getting worse as you age. One too many hits on the head while sparring, I suspect. Ham smiled, and Elend sent for a couple of carriages. While they waited, Breeze launched into a narrative of his travels. Vin glanced down at Orasur. She still hadn't found a good opportunity to tell the rest of the crew about the body change. Perhaps now that Breeze was back, Elend would hold a conference with his inner circle. That would be a good time. She had to be quiet about it since she wanted the palace staff to think she'd sent Orasur away. That's a very asterisk moment that we're going to call back to at the end of this very long episode.
Thank goodness. That's all I'm saying. It could have gone so wrong.
Yes.
So much more wrong. Anyway.
Breeze continued his story, and Vin looked back at him, smiling. Not only was Breeze a natural orator, but he had a very subtle touch with allomancy. She could barely feel his fingers on her emotions. Once she had found his intrusions offensive, but she was growing to understand that touching people's emotions was simply part of who Breeze was. Just as a beautiful woman demanded attention by virtue of her face and figure, Breeze drew it by near unconscious use of his powers.
I liked it. I liked that. Yeah. Why don't you like that?
I still feel like it's a violation. I don't buy the justification that that Breeze taught her in the first, but it's fine. There are moral uses for it, don't get me wrong, but
no, there's immoral uses for it. For me, I see definitely. That this is the moral use, this is the normal general use. And remember, we did speak about how people are always trying to influence each other's emotions. He's just using fewer steps.
Sure.
But Vince had a change of mind. You have not.
But I'm surprised that Vin has this opinion. I think that's the soothing talking.
Maybe. Okay, yeah, that could be it, because Breeze knows that she would resent it. So he would try and dampen the resentment, be like, oh, it's just Breeze. It's just Breeze being Breeze. So you're right. Maybe he's gotten even better, and she doesn't even know.
Yeah. Of course, that didn't make him any less a scoundrel. Getting others to do as he wished was one of Breeze's main occupations. Vin simply no longer resented him for using allomancy to do it. The carriage finally approached, and Breeze sighed in relief. As the vehicle pulled up, he eyed Vin, then nodded toward Orasur. What's that?
A dog.
Ah, blunt as ever, I see. And why is it that you now have a dog? I gave it to her. She wanted one, so I bought it for her. And you chose a wolfhound? You fought with her before, Ham. What would you have given her? A poodle? No, I guess not. The wolfhound fits her. Would Ham have known about the wolfhound before now?
No, they haven't discussed it.
I guess not, but they were together in the last...
Yeah.
Where was Orasur in the last chapter? I mean, of course he's not going to be, at the government affair, but...
Yeah, but the thing is that if they had discussed it and he had said, ha, you chose a wolfhound, like, I've explained this to you already, Ham, that would have happened. So
True.
So they've just
I'm too paranoid.
Yeah, I think that they would have, if they had. It's just that he's lucky they hadn't discussed it. And if you got caught out, you'd be like, oh, I'll just for the benefit of Breeze, he's doing it. But
sure.
Yeah, it works. You see, it's fine. It could be fine.
And you chose a wolfhound? You fought with her before, Ham. What would you have given her? A poodle? No, I guess not. The wolfhound fits her. No, it's almost as big as she is, Clubs added, regarding her with a squinty-eyed look.
See, like Clubs has also not spoken about this before. Has not commented about it. Clearly.
Fair. Vin reached down, resting her hand on Orosur's head. Clubs did have a point. She'd chosen a big animal, even for a wolfhound. He stood over 3 feet tall at the shoulder, and Vin knew from experience how heavy that body was. Remarkably well behaved for a wolfhound. You chose well, Al. Regardless, can we please return to the palace? Armies and wolfhounds are all well and good, but I believe supper is more pressing at this point.
So, just thinking about, well, remarkably well behaved for a wolfhound, that does make him stand out. He's a bit too obedient. He's too intelligent. If you watch too closely, you'll be like, she just talks to the dog and the dog does what it's told. That's, I guess, yeah, you can train it very well.
Look, he's an excellent actor.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna act like a good doggo.
He should have wagged his tail when she put her hand on his head. Like, and he should have
act like you like me, Orosur.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's but yeah, it has been remarkably well behaved for a wolfhound. Like, yes, he did. He just chose well. That's it. But if it's him, then it's like they could know of each other. Oh, well, he could know that Orosur is a Kandra. But anyway, let's get into that mystery.
Okay. So why didn't we tell them about Orosur? Elend asked as their carriage bumped its way back toward Keep Venture. The 3 of them had taken a carriage of their own, leaving the other 4 to follow in the other vehicle. Finn shrugged. Orosur sat on the seat across from her and Elend, quietly watching the conversation.
I'll tell them eventually. A busy city square didn't seem the right place for the revelation.
Keeping secrets is a hard habit to break, eh?
I'm not keeping him secret, I'm just...
She trailed off, looking down. Don't feel bad, Vin. You lived a long time on your own without anyone to trust. Nobody expects you to change overnight.
It hasn't been one night, Elend. It's been 2 years.
Elend laid a hand on her knee. You're getting better. The others talk about how much progress you've made. Vin nodded.
Another man would be afraid that I'm keeping secrets from him, too. Elend just tries to make me feel less guilty.
He was a better man than she deserved. I loved that. It hurts to read, but it's so well written.
Yeah, it's their relationship. And yes, it will not take 2 years even for her to change. Those are deep instincts that are there. And you know what? They've kind of helped. Okay, right now, the fact that we did not say anything about Orosur is very good.
Yeah, Kandra. Vin says you do well at keeping up with her. Yes, Your Majesty. These bones, though distasteful, are well equipped for tracking and quick movement. And if she gets hurt, will you be able to pull her to safety? Not with any speed, Your Majesty. I will, however, be able to go for aid. These bones have many limitations, but I will do my best to fulfill the contract. Elend must have caught Vin's raised eyebrow, for he chuckled. He'll do as he says, Vin. The contract is everything, mistress. It demands more than simple service. It requires diligence and devotion. It is the Kandra. By serving it, we serve our people. It is the Kandra. By serving it, we serve our people. That's a lot.
That's a lot. I'm like, does Kandra mean contract?
Contract.
But no, not even that. That would be the simplest thing to say about this. But we serve our people. Like, how many of them are you, and how do you serve the people by taking on the contract? Is it like a queen bee
situation, or
what does the Atium do?
Is it like the Kree situation in the Captain Marvel movie that I don't remember because I choose not to remember? Don't the Kree have some sort of like AI overlord that they all follow?
Oh, so they're like a hive? No.
Not really a hive mind, but they follow an all-knowing being.
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't watch that movie. So
I just watched extensive coverage of the movie. And then I chose to forget that it exists. So,
Yeah. Okay, wait, no. Let's go with your. I know this is long, but I just want to. Let's go with your theory here. And how do you work for both sides as Khandra? Do you know, like serving my people? Khandra would work for different houses, so that doesn't make sense.
unless they don't care about politics,
Yeah, they don't care.
Just
They don't care
about the Atium.
Yeah, they do. That makes sense. I agree. But again, tell us. So, is there a prediction that we need to log here, or?
Well, no, I don't think so. But it also speaks to a specific culture. By serving it, we serve our people. Our people speaks to a society, right? Or a culture of some kind. There's a lot there.
Yeah, there's a lot, and there's a lot of Khandra. There are people. It just makes me feel like it's more than just like, I don't know. I felt like they were very rare. Now it just gives me more of a sense of when you say a culture, it gives me more of a sense of community, and there's more to them. They have their own values. They have their own rules and things. Their own moral compass.
Yeah. Vin shrugged. The group fell silent, Elend pulling a book from his pocket. Vin leaned against him. Orasur lay down, filling the entire seat opposite the humans. Eventually, the carriage rolled into the Venture courtyard, and Vin found herself looking forward to a warm bath. But as they were climbing from the carriage, a guard rushed up to Elend. Tin allowed Vin to hear what the man said, even though he spoke before she could close the distance. Your Majesty, our messengers reached you then? No, Elend said with a frown as Vin walked over. The soldier gave her a look, but continued speaking. The soldiers all knew that Vin was Elend's primary bodyguard and confidant. Still, the man looked oddly concerned when he saw her. We don't want to be intrusive. That's why we've kept this quiet. We were just wondering if everything is all right? He looked at Vin as he spoke. What is this about? The guard turned back toward the king. The corpse in Lady Vin's room.
Damn.
Oh.
That was a great place to put like a little divide. I was so scared it was going to be the end of the chapter. I was like, that would no, none of that. We do need to get on with this. So I'm glad it was just a little break.
And yet, when we find out what it is, it makes sense, and it's kind of humorous in hindsight. The corpse was actually a skeleton. One picked completely clean, without a hint of blood or even tissue, marring its shiny white surfaces. A good number of the bones were broken. I'm sorry, mistress, Orasur said, speaking low enough that only she could hear. I assumed that you were going to dispose of these. Finn nodded. The skeleton was...
Sorry,
what?
Did you find that comedic?
I did. It was very funny.
Just that he's just standing there, like, I'm sorry. Ooh. But you were going to deal with this. I don't know. I found it, and also just cute because I think of this dog like with his head down, going, oh, sorry. And I really do hope nobody else can hear.
It's very Turner and Hooch.
I'm sure it is.
That's a Tom Hanks movie where he plays, I think, an investigator or a policeman with a dog as a partner.
Okay, I need to see that.
Yes, it is very funny.
Okay.
Vin nodded. The skeleton was, of course, the one Orasur had been using before she gave him the animal body. Finding the door unlocked, Vin's usual sign that she wanted a room cleaned, the maids had entered. Vin had stashed the bones in a basket, intending to deal with them later. Apparently, the maids had decided to check and see what was in the basket, and had been somewhat surprised. That's darkly funny as well.
Yeah, darkly funny. It's just like, Vin, you should say sorry, actually. You're the one that was supposed to deal with it. And also, I just think of just Vin, like, she's so uncomfortable with this Khandra stuff. So she's just like, oh, yeah, okay, fine, I'll get rid of the bones. She goes and puts it in a basket, and you just... Also, just thinking of the maids, like, open... What the heck?
She's so disturbed by the Khandra, but not by the bones themselves, just hanging out in their room.
Just hanging out there, the whole rib cage, everything. It's wow.
It's all right, Captain. Ellen said to the young soldier, Captain Demio, second in command of the palace guard. Despite the fact that Ham shunned uniforms, this man clearly took great pride in keeping his own uniform very neat and smart. You did well by keeping this quiet. We knew about these bones already. They aren't a reason for concern. Demio nodded. We figured it was something intentional. He didn't look at Finn as he spoke.
Intentional. Great. I wonder what this man thinks I did.
Few Ska knew what Kandra were, and Demio wouldn't know what to make of remains like these. Could you dispose of these quietly for me, Captain? Elend asked, nodding to the bones. Of course, Your Majesty.
He probably assumes I ate the person or something. Sucked the flesh right off his bones.
Which wasn't that far from the truth. Your Majesty, would you like us to dispose of the other body as well? And at that moment, I'm like, oh no.
Who, what were you thinking? I wasn't thinking Kandra mystery. I was like, who's dead? What's happening? That's it. I didn't think, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't immediately go to another Kandra, but it did eventually dawn on me. And it's like, yeah, of course this was going to happen. Of course.
I think also the way it does also say the other body. Like you think of a body again. If he had said skeleton, then maybe maybe we would have gone, whoa, what is Ursula up to, or something like that. I wonder if they could just go from one to the other. Anyway.
Your Majesty, would you like us to dispose of the other body as well? Vin froze. Other one? Elend asked slowly. The guard nodded. When we found the skeleton, we brought in some dogs to sniff about. The dogs didn't turn up any killers, but they did find another body, exactly like this one, a set of bones completely cleaned of flesh. Vin and Elend shared a look. Show us. Demio nodded and led them out of the room, giving a few whispered orders to one of his men. The four of them, 3 humans and 1 Kandra, traveled a short distance down the palace hallway toward a less used section of visitors' chambers. Demio dismissed a soldier standing at a particular door, then led them inside. This body wasn't in a basket, Your Majesty. It was stuffed in a back closet. We'd probably never have found it without the dogs. They picked up the scent pretty easily, though I can't see how. These corpses are completely cleaned of flesh. And there it was. Another skeleton, like the first, sitting piled beside a bureau. Elend glanced at Vin, then turned to Demio. Would you excuse us, Captain? The young guard nodded, walking from the room and closing the door. Okay. Freaking out.
Yeah, freaking out. What the hell? And this is probably going to spread. I know he did keep it quiet, but I don't know. He has probably mentioned it to someone else. There's the other guards.
There's no such thing as a secret. Everyone's going to know. The maids will tell everyone they saw what they saw.
Vin is eating people. So there's going to be mysteries about that. Maybe the Church of the Survivor is going to start giving her sacrifices and things. Like, this is going to have repercussions.
Yeah. Well, Ellen said, turning to Orasur, I do not know where this came from.
But it is another Kandra-eaten corpse.
Undoubtedly, mistress. The dogs found it because of the particular scent our digestive juices leave on recently excreted bones. Ellen and Vin shared a look. However, it is probably not what you think. This man was probably killed far from here. What do you mean? They are discarded bones, Your Majesty. The bones a Kandra leaves behind.
After he finds a new body.
Yes, mistress. Oh no! I mean, obviously this was the case, but oh no! This is going to turn into a horror book, right?
Yeah.
After this?
Murder mystery, intrigue all over the place. But also, I just love that this is coming from a dog. This serious conversation is being had with the dog. And I'm loving that.
Vin looked at Elend, who frowned. How long ago? Maybe the bones were left a year before by my father's Kandra. Perhaps, Your Majesty, Orasur said, but he sounded hesitant. He patted over, sniffing at the bones. Vin picked one up, holding it to her nose. With tin, she easily picked out a sharp scent that reminded her of bile.
It's very strong,
she said, glancing at Orosur. He nodded. These bones haven't been here long, Your Majesty. A few hours at most, perhaps even less. Which means we have another Khandra somewhere in the palace. One of my staff has been eaten and replaced. Yes, Your Majesty. There is no way to tell from these bones who it could be, since these are the discards. The Khandra would have taken the new bones, eating their flesh and wearing their clothing. Do you think it's Tensoon, the Venture Khandra, or do you think it's a different one entirely?
Does it make a difference? I guess it does, yes, because if it's a Venture Khandra, he's trying to infiltrate for Straff. That makes sense. But if it is another one, it could be from Set. So yeah, we don't know which Khandra it is. But we do know that Straff has one, and well, many noblemen do. I wonder, my question is, because we were talking about the culture of the Khandra and all of that. Do they know of each other? They could have secrets and abilities that they just keep from non-Khandra because they just don't care about the rest of the world.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I think it's unlikely.
I hope it's not that way.
Because Orosur, if he made his contract specifically to protect Vin, or such that he has to protect Vin, why would he keep secret that he knows who the threat to her is?
True. I mean, he's like the contract is the Khandra, so there's no doubt that he would reveal those things. You're right. Yay! I'm glad. I don't want it to be the other way because that would make things even more complicated. Because I want to trust Orosur at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he's a good doggo. I'm kidding. Shame. Poor guy.
Elend nodded, standing. Oh, did you think that perhaps these are the bones of the Terrace woman from the previous chapter?
I did not put that together. No, I didn't. We could have looked at what kind of pelvis this person had. Is it male or female?
Look, please look, and then figure out who was missing. Yeah, I mean, look, Vin noted that it was weird that the Terrace woman didn't come and see her and thank her for what she did. So that sets her apart from other Terrace people. Is that a thing that a Khandra would know to do if he took over, if the Khandra took over a Terrace person? I mean, we'll see if she never shows up again. I do kind of expect that she will show up again and therefore not be these bones, but it did pop into my mind.
Well, the person who does show up again would still be those bones, if you know what I'm saying. Oh wait, no, they're discards. No, they're discards. So never mind. Yeah, they're right. That's right.
Yeah.
Shit. So yeah, we can't tell anything about these bones because the only thing we would be able to say is that the Khandra was the person who was in who took whatever life has been taken was male or female. So we wouldn't even be able to figure out who is. Yeah. Right. I don't know. I was not thinking straight.
And while it's on my mind, I was going to save this for later, but going back to what you had just said about wondering whether or not all of the Khandra can communicate with each other or know who all of the other Khandra are, I had wrote in my notes to ask you if the crew doesn't know about Dog Orosur, who will be the first person to ask, what happened to Orosur, Vin? Golly gee, haven't seen him around in a while, because for me, that could be a giveaway as to who the Khandra is.
Well, yeah, nobody has asked about him, Orosur himself. We have had a lot of people looking at the dog, which is normal. But that could be a clue. There's so many things that actually could land up being a clue, like you were talking about. Okay, if people show up, then they are not those bones. Duh, makes sense. Well done. It took me too long to figure that out. But then also there's things like, okay, if it's one of the crew, is it a missing? Because if it's, say, okay, maybe we want to talk about this at the end, but if it is Han, one way you could probably figure it out is she has to spar with him, and and then he's not able to do what he's not a Mistling anymore. Same thing with Spook. So that would be a way to reveal it. But we do remember we had that discussion where we said, do Kandra take
Inherit senses.
elemancy? Yes, because the dog's sense of smell is as biological as elemancy is, I would say, because it's in their stomach and it's an ability.
Yes.
So that is a theory that could break it. That we don't know though. We have to find out.
And are we confident that it's not Breeze, since he was not in the city?
Yeah, I think that's. I did consider that. Like,
so do you think
just the timing of it all?
Do you think they're going to bring Breeze into this then and be like, hey, you're the only one we trust right now? Because you weren't in the city when this happened? Yeah,
but can we trust anyone ever?
I mean, no. The short answer to that is no.
Yeah, we can't trust anyone. We got to have phrases or some way of telling whether somebody is a Kandra or not.
Why aren't there already phrases?
Yeah,
secret words.
Mm-hmm.
Unless Kandra get memories, do they? They must. Surely they must get memories if they're so good at impersonation.
They're eating the brain as well. Yeah, I think so. I do think there is something of it because, I mean, maybe some level of memory, maybe.
Yeah. Elend nodded, standing. He met Vin's eyes, and she knew he was thinking the same thing she was. It was possible that a member of the palace staff had been replaced, which would mean a slight breach in security, but there was a far more dangerous possibility. Kandra were incomparable actors. Orasur had imitated Lord Renault so perfectly that even people who'd known him had been fooled. Such talent could have been used for the imitation of a maid or a servant, but if an enemy wanted to get a spy into Elend's closed meetings, he would need to replace a person far more important.
It would be someone that we haven't seen during the last few hours,
Vin thought, dropping the bone. Now, it is important to note, just because the Kandra has done this doesn't necessarily mean he's there to kill. It could be gathering information and guiding the king in specific beneficial directions, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that anyone else's life is in immediate danger.
Yeah. It would actually behoove this other Kandra not to be taking on different bodies all over the place, because that will just make for easier detection.
Yeah. She, Elend, and Orasur had been on the wall for most of the afternoon and evening, ever since the end of the assembly meeting, but the city and palace had been in chaos since the Second Army had arrived. The messengers had had trouble finding Ham, and she still wasn't certain where Doxon was. In fact, she hadn't seen Clubs until he'd joined her and Elend on the wall a bit before, and Spook had been the last to arrive. Finn looked down at the pile of bones, feeling a sickening sense of unease. There was a very good chance that someone in their core team, a member of Kelsier's former band, was now an imposter. The end of part 1.
Ah.
What an end to part 1.
Right? Whoa. It's not only that they're now an imposter, that means they're dead. That person's dead. Who's died?
Yeah. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it was Ham or Spook or Clubs or the Inner Circle. It could have been an assemblyman or a maid or what have you.
Yeah.
But like, one would hope that Ham can protect himself if he has to. But who's expecting a Kandra? So
no one expects. Sorry. Yes. Sorry. The Spanish Inquisition. Sorry.
Oh man. I'm scared. And
I'm
I think
scared.
it's going to be scary moving forward.
So let's think about our options here, okay? Just one small discussion about our fears, right? Okay. Because she says she didn't know where Doxon is. Uh-oh.
Right.
Because that's also Doxon. Oopsie. But that wouldn't be a good choice to take over, because Doxon's got to do stuff, okay? He's got quite a bureaucratic job, I suppose, that taking on his position is not a good position for a spy, because you have to know stuff. And I suppose then we would find out definitely where the memories come with it.
True. But Doxon is not an allomancer, and therefore the whole can I allomance would be a non-issue.
Yeah, non-issue, exactly. Damn. Then we've got Ham, and Spook, those both create an issue. If that is an issue, we still don't know for sure, but it seems like, I don't know, that's not possible. Either way, those would be an issue, I suppose. Why? Because Ham also has stuff to do. Spook, on the other hand, he's actually already a spy. So it's just like he kind of becomes this double agent suddenly. That he's been replicated and he can now go and spy and do things. And that's why I was wondering about his snickering.
I wonder if Spook would in fact be the most qualified person to detect a Kandra, and therefore, because he's a Tenai, and therefore most easily be able to protect himself.
He notices things. He sees it all.
Yeah.
But wait, it doesn't have to be one of the crew, but if it was, I don't know. I can't give up any of them. Okay, like I guess Spook is because we've had him the least. I suppose I would give up Spook, but I don't want any of them to be it. Okay, I don't want anyone that I know to be.
Ham's got a family.
Yes. My God. Yeah.
I mean,
great.
I don't make me choose.
Yeah.
Who I would prefer.
Yeah. Listen, I feel like this means that there is no good answer to this question. The best would be it's not one of the crew, but we don't know that and we need to find out.
Is there anyone tertiary? Like, say, like Demure?
Demure, yeah, could be. Because he's like, hey, I did consider that because I was like, okay, what if he wants them to know that there is another contract and he therefore is showing them this is what we found, like on purpose.
Yeah. So Demure is an option.
Yeah.
And
anyone.
I don't know.
There was no obvious like named character that I don't think so.
No, none that I could think of.
Like new character that we were introducing, we're like, cool, whatever. Is it what's his name? No, he's not a Condra. Never mind. I was gonna say the guy that you make fun of. George Costanza. Him. Hoyd. It's Hoyd.
Oh yeah, Hoyd. No. Could it be Elend?
Yes! What if it is Elend?
But we've got Elend's POV.
We do. In the speech.
So and in this chapter, so
yeah, that's true.
Never mind on that one.
Never mind that. Thank goodness. But because I was just what my mind went was, look, that's why the speech was bad. It was like, but that was written by Elend anyway. Even if he took over Elend, So no.
Yeah.
The intrigue is so much fun. Loving it.
Yeah. And I bet Dog Orasaur is going to be very, very valuable now, because I bet even another Kandra will not expect Dog Kandra.
Because it's so unorthodox.
Yes.
I hope so. I hope that's right. Because we did, well, I guess, yeah, you did say that somebody asking about Orasaur would be a clue.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, somebody remarking, on the dog would be a clue. But we've kind of assumed they don't know how to detect each other either.
Right.
So yeah. We're just looking for Brandison clues. That's the thing. We're looking for that sort of thing. Like, because it's like, you made us look at this. You made us see, you made Ham make this joke. And then you made Spook laugh, but he could laugh at this. It's like he's messing with us. So
he is. Yeah. Oh, man. Is there anything else to say?
Like this video and make sure you're subscribed. There's other things going on the No One Asked You podcast. Dorkus is a busy man.
Yes, and hopefully other stuff will be out by now, by the time this airs. So enjoy. And go and subscribe to That Darn Kitte's channel, where she does diagram streams and panel shows and other things that are pretty cool too.
Dorkus is there on Thursdays.
Yes. Oh, and I did not expect when we started this book that we would be doing so many blind read-throughs, but chapter 12 will be a blind
A
as
blind
we were
blind.
advised, a blind as we were advised to do that. Yeah. Okay, thanks,
See you next
boy.
time. Go back. Bye.